G'day fellas, welcome to another video that's part of the improvement checklist. In this video, we're going to be looking at the Germans. Now you might be wondering why you're doing this video, and that's because on my channel in the community tab, I asked the question, what would you like to see added next to the improvement checklist? And overwhelmingly, the response was videos focused on every civ and their standard land and water opening. Fortunately, we've got the land and the water opening for the Germans are down pat right now because they are the exact same build order. So we're going to dive straight into it and we're going to show you exactly what we're talking about. All right, so opening up, we're going to get every single settler wagon onto a food crate, like that. We're actually going to pick up our coin treasures here, quite important for the Germans. Probably want you on a coin mine instead. That's better. We're going to move you out onto a wood mine. I think that's going to be more than enough. Yeah, that's more than enough right there. So you got to be like a little bit careful with how much you gather in the early game for the Germans. So ideally, you're gathering 50 wood right now is what I'm gathering. So I picked up those coin treasures. So it's 75 coin that you need to gather. And you need to gather 100... or you need to gather an extra piece of wood or an extra bit of wood. And so that is everything that we've gathered right now. So very nice start there by having those extra treasures. And then from there, moving every villager over. So we've got our hunting dogs, and we've got enough to drop our house down, which we're going to drop down right now. Our explorer is just doing his thing. Now, those treasures in the beginning of the game really make all the difference. If I didn't have those treasures in the beginning of the game, it's a totally different story. Let me show you exactly what happens. All right, so we're going to follow the exact same thing. So moving each settler wagon down. We're not picking up the treasures here. Villager going into queue. Going to get out onto a coin mine immediately. So we've got our villagers in queue. We might move them out onto the hunt straight away so that they begin gathering, or at least starting to herd. So we'll drop the market down. Now keep in mind, we haven't picked up these treasures right here, so you might be spawning in on maps as the German and might not have these treasures available to you. Probably want to get these guys over here, try and get to that that all-important 50 coin as quickly as possible. So one of the things that you've got to be careful of is not going idle as the Germans, which is quite a common thing that happens when you're doing this. If you don't pick up particularly good treasures in the early game, you may go idle. So you can see that the exact micro that's happening, or the exact macro that's happening, is, you know, we're being very, very careful here with the amount that we're collecting. Only gathering one extra coin. That's really, you know, and you can see that the difference right here, going idle for just a split second, and that's how you open with the Germans in a typical game and really do your best. You can see just how tight it was for us to do that and for us to get in there. It can be really, really difficult. Oh, I didn't realize we had a female villager in there. She must have been hiding. I would have used her to shoot these bison. Going idle there for a little bit. That's all right. It's all part of the plan. All part of the plan. So just keep in mind. So at the beginning of the game, ideally, what you're looking for is that extra 75 coin, and so you're going to be using that to buy 100 wood for your house, and then you also need to chop another 100 wood on. Another 50 wood on top of that. So in the early game, if you can look for either those wood or those coin treasures, it's really going to help you out. Especially like these coin treasures here are going to be great. The sooner you can get hunting dogs, the better. And you can see just the way that we're macroing in the early game, really making sure that we keep all of our bison underneath our town center, just so that they don't go wandering. You don't want to have bison running off down this way. It's going to make it really difficult for you. You want to have them all dead. You want to have them all dead underneath your town center. Now, when it comes to aging up, there's a couple of different schools of thoughts, but in my opinion, it's best to always go up with 17 population, like you see right here. It's going to enable you to have the most competitive age up and still have the best economy possible. You can see even right now, if we had cancelled this villager, we're still only sitting at 750 food. So it's probably not a bad idea for us to just idle, you know, that extra, what is it, an extra 6 seconds before we hit the age up button. From here, we're going to be going up with the quartermaster. And that's essentially it. When it comes to what happens after this, it will depend on the game that you're playing. Typically, you're going to be moving over to wood. You're going to be looking at getting your upgrades such as placer mines. It's going to be really important. Getting things like gang saw as well. Getting all of your market upgrades. Doing a little bit of herding as well. So just finding those herds. We should hopefully have a herd out here as well. So we'll go grab that one in. So making sure that we get placer mines. As the Germans, typically you're going to be getting a lot of coin. So it's important to try and get those market upgrades in as soon as possible. Doesn't look like we've found a hunt. And that's essentially it. When it comes to playing the Germans, I'm not going to go into detail on their build orders and on their strategies. That's essentially it for the opening of the game, because there's so many different options that they've got, whether you want to go tower rush, whether you want to go for a fast fortress, a semi-fast fortress, whether you want to open a TP, or whether you don't want to open a TP. That's essentially it for the beginning of the game, what it looks like. I hope that that's been eye-opening for you. If you've watched this video on YouTube, I encourage you to leave a like if you've liked the video. Other than that, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching.